Hey guys, welcome back to the Lions Den podcast. I'm your co-host Stanley,
I'm your co-host Yeltsin.
and we have a very special guest today.
Hello.
Takuma Endo, our dear friend from Tokyo.
It's our first guest on the podcast. What do you think about that, Takuma?
Honestly, your last podcast was way too rigid, way too formal. So I'm trying to make it more loose today, more
Damn.
You're
hearted.
used to making things loose, Takuma. So we're
Yeah,
glad to have you here.
Too early. Too early for that. Too early for that. All right,
thank
first
you for
off,
having me today.
I just want to congratulate you guys because we didn't upload last week on Friday as we promised. But you got the boys are graduating, so
Yay! Congratulations to Takuma.
All right, so today we're gonna talk about relationship. Do you have any idea what kind of relationship you want? Like any insights on that? Just throw it out there.
So 2 weeks ago, we did a poll asking you guys what topics you want us to talk about, and a majority of you want us to talk about love, relationships, and a certain RB wanted us to talk about how to find a wife. That is a big question. I don't know if we touch on it today, but thank you for your responses. And if you have any future topic suggestions or any other feedback, please feel free to comment down below in the video or on our Instagram. Thank you very much. And Stanley, you'll start.
Okay. So of course we all graduated from Kent, right? And we've been abroad for like a couple years now. So we kind of got a taste of what, the Western culture was like and the dating culture in the Western world. And now we're back in Asia, like Takuma and I. So I there's this book called Red Rose, White Rose. And I think we briefly talked about this when we are all in London. So a red rose is sort of like this more westernized individual who's more out there, who parties more and like who has features that resembles a westernized woman or a man. And the white rose is sort of like a typical Asian um
Good wife.
partner, like I don't want to use because like you can be both a wife or a husband, right?
But
So
dutiful, takes care of family, does the responsibilities, but doesn't come across as extremely attractive, or it doesn't.
yeah, someone who's more reserved, someone who's more, in the house. And yeah. So what are you guys experiencing?
This makes me think of Sigmund Freud's Madonna harlot complex. So he mentioned that men, from his experiences, like seeing different men or patients, he realized that most men view women as either harlots or Madonnas. So um, they have sexual desire for harlots, but they cannot imagine building a future or marrying them. But similarly, they they glorify Madonnas, like the good housewife, the the mother of their children, but they basically think that they're so pure and they have love for them, but they have no sexual desire. So I think a lot of men do fall in this trap of, um, yeah, either glorifying women for the purity, for being a mother, for yeah, for yeah, for
Yeah, it's like like Takuma and I was talking off camera. Like we were talking about how we are gravitated towards these westernized women instead of your traditional Asian um girls who just has sort of like a list of standards that our parents probably want us to marry. So
Yeah, I think as well when I was in high school, I was really into like the more westernized girls. because I went to high school in America, um, wanted to fit in all that. But as I've getting older and I've been getting closer to my mom, my dad, talking a little bit about marriage and stuff because I am in my 20s now. It's there's definitely more layers to it because well my mom, well, my family, we're a very traditional Asian family. My mom was at home while my dad was working, and that's what I grew up with. So now that I think, I mean, a tiny bit about my future, maybe marriage, stuff like that in general, it's it's difficult because what I what I like in high school, what I liked in high school is like these Western girls, but what I grew up with and what I appreciate now more is like these Asian values. So it's a weird time for me, because now more and more I really appreciate these traditional Asian girls in a way, but at the same time, like I do, like I grew up, I went to Kent with you guys, and I love these American values too. So yeah, it's very tough, very tough.
Do you find yourself, so let's say when you go on a date with someone really traditional, do you find that you're able to communicate with them fully, or um like
What what I like to say with my friends is that like I like girls that um you know understand these American values too, like more westernized, they more progressive thoughts, but also appreciate these traditional values too. So it's like they have, for me, I call it bicultural. So they know these American values, they know, for me, I'm from Japan, so these Japanese values, but maybe leaning towards more Japanese values just because I mean I love Japan, like I love my culture. So it's, yeah, for me it's, my ideal would be a girl that's bicultural, um but leans towards more Japanese values, more conservative values in a way. So it's just very hard to come by, very hard.
You think it's
what about,
the emphasis on marriage that makes them traditional or tra-
Mm.
does
Is
that
it,
play a huge part?
huh? To be honest with you, I haven't thought that far. Maybe it's marriage, maybe it's just like even like the way they view life, obviously girls who are more progressive, or I mean went to school in America, there's a more higher chance that they're very more career driven. Of course, their parents sent them to Kent, they sent them to university, very high tuition. So obviously they're more driven, career driven. And yeah, and that you can tell like based on, maybe it's not maybe marriage, but just career wise, even just her personality, it's different. So it's, yeah, it's, what
I
do you
think
guys think?
I think from observations, the dating practices in Asia and in the West are quite different. For example, I remember one friend from home telling me the guy she was seeing was such a jerk. I asked her, "Oh, what happened?" And she told me she found out the guy was seeing multiple people at the same time. I told her that's completely normal here in New York because um, you meet new people, you go on dates, so you figure out what you truly want, their qualities, and the person you want. But back in Asia, you only really see one person at a time, even though you have not fully committed yourself in a boyfriend girlfriend situation. And also, I think the biggest difference in terms of dating goals um, is that in Asia, people primarily date um, with the end goal of marriage. So even though, yeah, in the 20s, people don't date for the sake of dating. They always date for something else, for marriage at the end. But here in the West, I think people just enjoy meeting new people, um, living through different experiences, and just enjoying each other's company. And actually, I think the dating culture in the West is more organic. For example, let's say when I meet you guys for the first time, when I met you guys for the first time, we became friends just because we enjoy each other's company. I didn't have the end goal meeting this person for the sake of networks or for the sake of some other end goal, that would be inauthentic. You get what I mean? The
Do you think
relationship itself, it's valuable. It has intrinsic value. The relationship is an end in itself. But I think if you view relationships, let's say in Asia, you view relationship as sort of you view dating as sort of vehicle just for the sake of marriage, or when you meet people just for the sake of marriage, it's sort of I don't know where I'm going at, but what I'm saying is that the relationship itself is not what is valued, it's what it can bring. You get what I mean?
Yeah, it's I think Asian people looking at marriage is more practical. They're kind of looking at the practicality aspect of a relationship, and the end goal is definitely marriage. But I think that idea is also diminishing, like with all the Western influence on in movies and stuff. I feel like the girl I'm seeing, oh shit, it makes me sound like a jerk, but yo, the girl I've been going on dates with, they definitely have a more Western idea on a relationship. And I think it's kind of hard to find someone with a tradition, like you said, like the traditional Asian value. And I don't know, I think it's from my personal experience, that's the case. So I don't know about you guys, but I definitely haven't met someone who is, like you said, like Asian, you know.
It's also the medium how you got to meet them, because if you meet them through, let's say,
That's very true.
like through apps and stuff, then of course they're more open to dating casually and dating for the sake of just enjoying each other's company. But I guess if you meet each other through like family or friends, whatever, then maybe the situation would be different. Yeah, Takuma, do you find it weird, like now just being back in Japan for a few days and you're starting your career here? Do you find Yeah, do you find it difficult navigating through a dating scene here and finding what you actually want?
Mm,
You have a dilemma of like maybe you need to find a compromise of what you want, because um yeah, maybe a compromise.
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. It's I'm definitely still navigating. I've only been I mean, I just graduated like a week ago, right? And I came back to Japan like 2 days ago, so I'm still very much fresh with everything. Uh, but I mean, yeah, I feel like I agree with you guys. I feel like in Japan, when you date someone, it's definitely more. There's definitely more of a it's more end goal. Definitely, I think in Western culture, it's more like dating. You date for the sake of it, but in Japan, it's deeper than that. So I think that's something that I'll definitely keep in mind when I navigate the dating world here. I think something else is just people here are more well, Asian girls in general. I think we're more like it's hard to tell what they're actually thinking. I think Westernized girls they really tell you what they want. They're more out there. They're direct. But I think you can at least, especially in Japan, like people girls here are so indirect. They don't really tell you what they want. So that's also something that like is going to be a struggle for me, just because I'm a very direct person. I mean, I know Yeltsin is one of the most direct people I know, but just yeah, just navigating through that as well, like different personalities. Um, I really want to use my American side as an advantage. The way I'm really direct, but at the same time, in Japan, I'm not sure about Taiwan or Hong Kong, but it's like kind of like the beauty is in like the lines, the beauty is reading between the lines in Japan. So it's navigating through that as well. Maybe we can pop on a podcast and talk about marriage like this right away, but I feel like if I'm talking to a Japanese girl, that might take a lot more time. Obviously depends on the girl. So just being more aware of that, reading between the lines, yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now.
But
But
like
honestly, I'm still learning. Still learning.
you just
I think
mentioned
from
about,
you were saying?
Takuma just mentioned about intention and being like Japanese people being like indirect in general. And I just found it interesting that nowadays a lot of people date through dating apps, and everyone there is there to date someone. So you don't need to think about intentions. So I think a lot of people lose the social cue or awareness of picking up whether someone likes you or not in person. If you meet them naturally through let's say through a cafe or at a cafe or through a friend, whatever. But it's actually quite important, these kind of skills. But I think one way online dating has helped people make dating easier is that everyone knows that people there are into want to date someone, so you filter out the interest aspect of dating. Yeah,
No, I don't agree with that. A lot of people just want to be promiscuous, you know.
or just
But
for the attention, just for the attention.
for the attention too, I feel like because girls are definitely more popular on dating apps, and it's been proven that even the top percent, that 1% of guys get less likes than I mean, we can go into detail on that, but I think I just want to mention that um do you see a phenomenon that, because like from my observation, I feel like westernized men or guys are more popular than westernized women, and let's say when interacting with Asian people, like a local Asian person. I think definitely, like, because like a guy should assert dominance, and that's what a girl kind of is gravitated towards. But when a girl is, had that Western education going with her life, I think it's kind of intimidating for a lot of Asian guys out there. And what do you guys think about that?
I do understand what you're talking about, because I think a lot of the Asian girls with the Western education background and the way of viewing dating, a lot of a lot of Asian guys might be intimidated by their directness.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah, I do see that happening, but personally, I'm used to that, so it doesn't affect me. But I think for someone who has never left the country, maybe, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, that's why like you see a lot of boarding school kids who just only date boarding school kids, like kind of is in their own circle. So like all they talk to is like, all these girls who actually share similar backgrounds with them.
So like in general, like do you think dating apps in Asia as a guy is easier or like than using it in, let's say, in America?
Um
More
from
matches and stuff?
I mean, as an Asian male, because like if you look at the data, you are definitely not as popular as, let's say, a Caucasian male in America, because like our sex appeal is not as powerful, let's say. But in Asia, like if you're somewhat decent, I feel like you can be successful on dating apps for sure.
Personal experience?
What?
I have no experiences using dating apps in Asia, and I don't plan
Yo,
to.
shut the fuck
So
up.
I cannot comment on that. But Stanley, we appreciate very much your input and you sharing your experiences with us.
uh Yeah, I guess out of three of us, like I definitely have the most experience when talking to like your local Asian girls, I guess. I don't know about the girl part, but yeah, there's definitely a difference. That's it when it comes to their view on relationship and like how they interact with you and stuff. Because like I don't know what I prefer. But I feel like, yeah, like Takuma said, there gotta be a balance. Like you're bicultural.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think,
it's definitely the hardest part, like to find someone like that.
Stanley, do you think from talking to girls from Asia or like the girls you have met when you're in America or in the UK, do you think they have different? They look for different things in guys.
Damn, I
Sorry for putting you on the spot, but I'm sure the audience will
all
want.
right, I'll give an example. Okay, like when I was in London, I went on 3 dates. I know I went on a couple of dates, but 3 of them, the girl had a guy.
Right.
So like it's sort of hard for me to say if it's good or not, but a hypergamy is definitely more obvious in the Western culture for sure.
So
I don't know, but like
you
from
think
my personal experience
the three girls were in committed relationships?
in committed relationship, yes. But they still agreed to go on dates with me. And just to make it clear, it was a date, like they were all dates. So I don't know. I don't think that situation is gonna happen in Asia. Or you be fucking stoned to death if it happens in Asia, I feel like.
You'd just be shamed. Yeah, you'll just be shamed.
Yeah, but it's definitely a huge difference. Oh my god. I feel like I'm oversharing my personal experience.
Oh no,
Hey,
very
hey,
interesting.
hey, hey. We've just begun. We have just begun. Any more to share, Stanley?
I feel like I'm the only one who's like actually like I'm putting myself on the spot, you know?
No
I
worries.
would share, but I've only been in Japan for like 5 days.
Yeah, I
Uh,
hate texting like just Asian girls because they like I don't know if they're playing games or not. Like I'm not really familiar with Asian girls, but definitely like I don't feel like texting them for sure. Like they don't want to start conversations. Like you got to take the lead and all that. You know, it's definitely different, and you gotta be more dominant and more upfront with your everything.
For me, I almost never text girls because it's a waste of my time. Like I only text them to meet up with them. So I'll literally send the same exact same text to a bunch of people and exact same reservation. And whoever shows up shows up. And if they don't reply, it's fine. If a few people reply at the same time, I'll just push the reservation in. So I'll make another reservation for the next week. And I'll just say, oh, sorry. Yeah, see you next week instead of this week, whatever.
No, we're not doing the whole fucking meeting people 101, so you can save that.
All right. So come on, what do you
Yeah,
want
but
to
huh?
what do you want to share?
What do I want to share? Um, hmm,
all right. I have a question for Takuma.
sure.
All right. Do you think it's easy as a Asian male
Mhm.
to let's say have an interracial relationship with a girl?
Uh, Personally, I think it's definitely possible, but I think it's very hard. Actually, my twin brother right now has a girlfriend, and she's from America. She grew up in California her whole life. She's white. Um, and Obviously, I support the relationship, but she actually came to Japan the past winter break. And my mom doesn't really speak English, so that was a big wall for me, for all of us, just because it's hard to communicate. And for example, in Japanese culture, when you visit someone's house, you always give them a gift. But in America, you don't do that, right? So she didn't bring a gift, and that's like something that if you're interracial dating or whatnot, something that you have to just be okay with, and that's a hard pill to swallow, at least for me, just because, well, if I'm dating a girl, I want her to know my culture, but it's, I think you have to be very understanding and just be okay with like that the girl will probably not understand your culture as much, For me, to be honest, like first of all, I want my girlfriend to be able to speak to my parents in their native language. So, and number two, like I want them to fully be okay with like Japanese customs. So it's a little bit tough, but if you're okay with those two things, then I think it's definitely possible.
Takuma, like your mother, my mother doesn't really speak English that well. So yeah, ideally I would like my future partner to be able to communicate with my mom fully, no language barrier, and also understand the cultural customs because if you because I want to build a life in Hong Kong and when you navigate through the social world and just through daily interactions with people, there's some basic things that um, you need to know about, and even how you raise your kids. That's like way further down the line. That's not just about dating, but building family, whatever. What kind of values you want to implement in your kids? Yeah, because I think like we talked about in private, you still want your kids to you still want to instill in your kids some strong Japanese traditional values that you think are slowly well, I wouldn't say rotting away, but slowly forgotten with more Western influence in
Mhm.
Asia nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I feel like, especially, I don't know about you guys, but up until high school, I thought like, for me, I really want to fit in. Uh, Less and less like as I got older, but like when I was in America for middle school, like one of my biggest priorities was like, how do I fit in? How do I fit in? And that meant like, how do I fit in with like, the American kids? So in a way, like I really didn't really respect or appreciate my own Japanese culture, which I think is not really my fault. I think that's just the way it is when you're younger. But yeah, so it's really important as a parent, or I got lucky with like just being close to you guys, and you guys also really appreciate like your native culture. But just like either you gotta be lucky or you have to have like really good parents that like instill that. And I'm not saying like it's okay if you're like I would say my twin brother is less like Japanese than me, and that's also okay. But just having your own personality and sticking by that uh, is what's ultimately important.
You guys think instead of trying to understand their faux pas, you you try to let them to adapt to your customs or your traditional value is which way is it like
I think it's like what is it quote like when in Rome like something like you got Elson, you know what I'm talking about?
was it
That was in Cantonese, but yeah,
Basically basically means like when you're at like someone's country like
follow the
act yeah you gotta follow their way. So like if I'm in America like I'll go with the American way. But let's say I have a American girlfriend and she comes to Japan, I want her to act in the Japanese way. So I think it's vice versa. I think it's equal effort on both ends. But I don't want my let's say if I had an interracial girlfriend and she comes to Japan and she thinks it's okay to like just I'm gonna act American in Japan. I wouldn't be okay with that.
you mean like walk into the house without taking off the shoes?
yeah
Oh yeah, that
definitely
would be a huge red flag. I mean, I think that's fair to say. Very
Yeah.
fair to say.
yeah damn time flies we
The
got like
time
10
flies.
minutes
We're already getting notice that we have 10 minutes left, but we could always record another episode. Yeah, but yes. So Takuma, you're saying that you're open to interracial dating, but you hope that um the person from a different culture would understand your customs and be able to blend in and
Yeah.
adapt. Like personally, I am also open to dating people from different cultures because I actually find it really interesting just from having friends from different cultural backgrounds. There's so much to learn from each other. I enjoy traveling and learning about different cultures, and also I love sharing with others about my culture. So, and I found that there are some people who are really international and they've seen the world, they've traveled a lot, and they definitely understand and they respect different cultures. So I think it's easier to date someone from a different culture if they have a very global mindset, maybe like a global citizen kind of thing.
I
Versus
I think
being
one thing I want to mention. No, sorry for cutting you off, but is that I feel like for us like Asian people, we have more of an emphasis on family values. So like when we're talking about marriage, we talking about like the like two different families being one, you know, like we're not talking solely on two individuals getting married. So I think that's hard to see in the Western world is that we don't put too much emphasis on the family part, but we only focus on two people being in love, and that's all that matters, right?
right.
And that kind of contributes to a lot of divorce and
Drama.
a lot of problems because like you don't take anything into consideration like financial part, you know, you don't take, let's say, your family values and all that, because like raising a family, it's raising a kid is also a problem when it comes to like interracial relationship, because like what kind of value you want to give, like, right?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and Chinese there's a saying, when you're marrying someone, you're marrying the entire family. I think that's the same with a lot of cultures in the Middle East, or like basically more traditional cultures that are more family oriented. Yeah, even through the dating process, and maybe some people even call the dating process courtship. There's no dating, and in some more traditional or family oriented cultures, um, yeah, you need to see if your family gets along before you even consider marriage. But I think in the West, marriage is only it's mostly just between two people. So yeah, that's a huge difference.
What are you guys types, you know, when it comes to what are you guys types when it comes to girls, you
I
know,
have to
to
say,
spice things up a little bit?
I don't have just like one type. I have like different things um attract me, but I think there's some basic, very basic criteria that are not that basic actually. Just being number one, being mentally and physically healthy. A lot of people nowadays are not mentally healthy or physically healthy. That's the most basic thing. And second thing, like hygiene, or like just taking care of yourself. And like these are some really basic stuff, but you'll be surprised how many people um do not have these kind of things. And actually, like physical appearance for me just needs to reach a certain threshold. As long as when I look at you, I don't want to puke, or I don't want to look away. Like that's all right. Like, because yeah, at the end of the day, physical attraction is not really what keeps a relationship over time. So let's say if between two people, one one is attractive, another person is really attractive, what makes me want to date one over the other isn't really the attraction, because after a certain threshold, it doesn't really matter anymore. It's more about values, for sure.
Yeah, we all know Yeltsin got a girl in mind. Yeah, for sure. You know what I'm talking about.
Which one are you talking about?
Oh,
Okay, I'll go next.
it's getting spicy up.
I think for me, I like girls that are friendly, but at the same time is very comfortable being by herself. So I think someone that can eat lunch alone, go on a date by herself, but at the same time is very friendly. So yeah, that's definitely my type. Also someone that like respects really respects boundaries and understands like just like what I think. For example, I think when I say certain things, let's say I don't want a girl that goes to the club all the time. I'm not saying that because I'm insecure. I say that because I respect boundaries, and I want her to like understand that. And it goes both ways too. Like if she says like she doesn't want me to go out too much, I understand. But just like those like, it sounds kind of like simple, but yeah, like boundaries.
I don't want
So
there to be a difference in lifestyle. That's what I always
yeah,
say.
I think that's a better way to put it. Just like yeah, similar lifestyle because I think I'm more of stay at home kind of guy. I like house parties more, just chilling like drinking with a small group of friends rather than like going out. Not that I still go out sometimes, but yeah, similar lifestyle. That's a good way to put it. And just um yeah, someone who's comfortable being by herself.
I want garment, one piece of garment that embodies the type of woman I want. I think I discussed that with Stanley, which is a Harris tweed jacket. If you know anything about Harris tweed, Harris tweed is made in Scotland, heavy duty. It can take a beating. When I travel with it, I can roll in the grass. I can sleep on trains with it, but I could also go to a nice dinner with that jacket. So what I'm saying is that an ideal woman for me is someone who um, can sort of
Go both ways. Like it could be down to earth, but also like appreciate the finer things in life.
yeah, and she could also like somehow some girls when they go to a more local spot for lunch, maybe sitting on the side of the street, or maybe um, we need to walk a few more steps up the hill, carry a luggage, whatever, and she's like, oh, that luggage is too heavy, or oh, that place is so dirty, or why are we sitting on the side of the street for lunch? I appreciate someone who could handle any situation. That's what I'm saying. Like handle any situation like a Harris tweed jacket. It can take a beating, harsh elements, but also be able to be presented elegantly in a more refined situation. We only have 1 minute 30 seconds left.
I
Stanley,
haven't talked about
quickly talk about your.
You guys are so complicated, man. Like all I want is my Russian chicks, man. Like I want my Asians in Russia, man.
Are you
If
talking
you're
about
looking for
a
my
certain
DM Velvet, yeah, exactly. Like preferably from Southeast Asia, like
Okay.
it's an ongoing joke between us,
Yeah. I'm sorry if we cut you off, Stanley, sharing your type, but we don't have much time left. Thank you very much, Takuma, for joining us this episode. We'll definitely welcome you back in the future. And guys,
Yeah.
that's only the part one of our conversation on the relationship. In a future episode, we'll invite some girls on to talk about relationships so that you can.
Oh, if this video gets 500 more views, I'll share my Russian experience. If you want to hear about, no, I was just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm playing with you guys.
Episode we'll invite one or two girls on the show, and
we'll invite my ex on the show.
okay, we'll make that happen. Stanley.